Alrighty, looks like we are live. For those of you watching, I just want to do a quick audio check, so let me know in the chat if the audio is good. And welcome to my post-Indiana trip sort of Q&A. I got to visit Kings Island for the first time along with Holiday World, and the timing of the trip was convenient enough, the ending of it anyways, that I was also able to experience Wonder Woman Flight of Courage at pass holder previews, which was pretty crazy. So I'm going to be basically doing most of this stream's basically going to be Q&A about those things. I'll go a little bit more in depth into those parks and their lineups later, but for now I'll just be taking any questions, and I'll also be taking questions about any news items that have happened since the last stream, because I know quite a bit has happened. There's obviously the sort of California's Great America sort of bombshell sort of deal where the land got sold, which I have not talked about here yet on the channel. Those of you who follow me on Instagram, I've already put my thoughts about it out there a little bit, and those on Instagram will also know a few of my thoughts on some of the parks I went to and some of the coasters. Not too much, honestly, but a little bit. So with that being said, ask away any questions you have, and that's going to be this stream mostly. As I mentioned, mostly going to be going through what I did in this trip, but also, of course, catching up on news. And then probably toward the end, I'll also do a Guess the Coaster toward the end of this stream, which probably won't be super long because this is not a coaster time stream, but that is going to be the plan. So, yep, that's the plan. Once again, just for the chat, is the audio good? That is what I'm trying to, that was what I was trying to check. So somebody chat, give me a thumbs up or some sort of confirmation there, and then I'll probably get started. Coaster Evan in the chat. Oh yeah, and also of course, Coaster Evan, now that you're in here, I was going to mention this in the stream, but this is about a perfect time. For the first time ever, I was recognized at a park and by Coaster Evan. So make sure to follow him on Instagram. He was really cool. It happened on the Eiffel Tower, which was pretty sick. That had never happened to me, so that was the first time, and he was really cool. And we got to talk a little bit about Ghost Rider, Knott's, Kings Island that day, and I even ran into him again back at the when we were doing Beasts for night rides, which we both agreed they were pretty insane. So huge shout out to Coaster Evan. If you have Instagram, make sure to follow him on that. He has a lot of great coaster photography on there. So huge shout out to you. And you were awesome to meet at the park. As I mentioned, I apologize for not getting a picture with you. That was a major regret after that day happened, just because that had never happened. I don't know why I didn't offer it. I guess it was the first time I was interacting with anybody I knew, but if we're ever at a park again, I would love to take a picture with you. So that is, I mentioned that on there, but yeah, that was a major regret. So I apologize about that, but really cool to meet you. We have our first question here from Imperial Coaster. So this was one of the major things that happened when I was gone. There was, I believe it was Cobra derailed, and it was a fatal accident. Obviously a pretty dire and dark sort of situation there. Will they go bankrupt? I'm not too familiar with the manufacturer, so I mean, potentially, depending on like I don't know what exactly caused the accident, if it was more although I do think did this manufacturer have a coaster that already had an accident? I'm not sure. I'm not super familiar with this manufacturer, and I couldn't dive as deep as I do into other sort of news things, like I said, because it happened when I was on vacation. But I guess it's a possibility. I don't know if it will happen for sure. I don't know what their track record is, so I wouldn't be the best one to ask there. But a very tragic situation nonetheless. And my thoughts go out to the family of the girl who ended up passing away from the accident. Sanford Bridge, hello from Wiener Prater. Awesome to see that you're over there. That's pretty cool. Hope you're having a good time. Sounds like it would be a lot of fun. So, hope you're having fun over there in Austria. Wow. But anyways, like I said, any other questions you have about the trip, you can ask me. I'll kind of go into more in-depth thoughts about the things in a little bit. But I'll just be answering some questions about, like I said, news or the trip. I did visit Splash and Safari, so yes, I did make that a point to do that when I visited Holiday World. I was tempted a little bit to not do that, but I decided to do it anyways. I only did the 3 water coasters, but I'm very glad I did those. Mammoth ended up being my favorite. It was my second favorite attraction in the entire park. It was honestly one of my favorite attractions I've ever done, like ever. So highly recommend Mammoth. Will the Beast was also pretty insane. Cheetah Chase was solid, but it wasn't as good as those two. And because of the weird situation I had with it, I ended up having to wait an hour and a half for it just because it ended up like kind of having a sensor issue that caused it to go down for a bit. But I was in line long enough where I was like, we're not getting out. So that one caused a little bit of chaos in our day, but it was still a solid ride. So yeah, I did check it out. Also, their locker system is fantastic. I had not done lockers too much at too many other parks, but at Splash and Safari, it's super easy. So super quick and easy. So I really like that. Did I like the Beast retrack? Yes, I was incredibly impressed with Beast. I got to do it 7 times, including 2 night rides. And now I hadn't ever done Beast before, so that is one thing I will say. But even during the day, I was legitimately impressed with it. It was a lot more fun than I was expecting. And the night rides were completely insane. In my opinion, they lived up to the hype. And as crazy as it sounds, the Beast for a little bit was my favorite coaster, just based off those night rides. Of all time, it was my number one for about a week. Then I rode Voyage, and that changed things pretty quickly. So yeah. What do I think will happen to the other Wonder Woman attraction at Magic Mountain? They actually turned it into a Teen Titans themed attraction. I didn't like write it, but I did see it there. So they just rethemed it. That's basically what's going on, which I actually predicted. Just not that it would be a Teen Titans theme. I thought they were gonna do like a Harley Quinn or a Joker type thing, but and that prediction was like well before the Raptor leak or whatever. But yeah, so it'll be sticking around. It looks like. You went to Energylandia last week, nice, and your top 3 has completely changed in Legendia. Zadra, Hyperion, and Lek Coaster. Dang, that's pretty sick. Yeah, all 3 of those coasters they look fantastic. So pretty high on my bucket list for sure. Did I ride Howler? No, I didn't even go through the kiddie area at all. So no, I did not check it out. Something to do for next time, I suppose. I did not even like look at it. How many new credits did I get? I got 15 in total, and I got to 100. And my number 100 was Mystic Timbers, which was a very worthy 100. That coaster also impressed me quite a bit, and it is, I guess, currently my 4th favorite wooden coaster. But I got to ride a lot of really good ones this trip, so that was pretty exciting. To finally get to 100 and to get that many new credits all in like kind of one go. So that was pretty cool. Did I did I OD on Holiday World's free soda or keep the water? I mostly kept the water. I did have some like Gatorade and soda like sparingly, but that was a super nice convenience. I mean, you always hear about how great it is, but when you're actually there and able to just get a little cup and fill it up and get a drink for free, no hassle, no anything, it's unbelievable. That actually raises my opinion of Holiday World quite a bit, and I already like that park so much. What's my home park? It is technically Six Flags Magic Mountain. Well, I consider it to be Magic Mountain. Technically, California's Great America is a teeny bit closer to where I am, but I more visit Magic Mountain, and soon enough, Magic Mountain will be undisputedly my home park. So, actually, I guess that depends on a few things, but if I were to stay in this area, it'll be once Great America closes. What was my favorite coaster at Kings Island? So, the Beast at Night was my number one. I say Beast at Night because it gets that much better for me at night. If you're going off the day rides, it was still pretty fun. I'd put it at 3, but at night, it's definitely my favorite coaster there. If you were not to count that, then Mystic would be my favorite. But I was also very impressed with Orion, which I actually prefer a lot over Millennium Force. However, I will say that when I rode Millennium Force, there were some other people who rode it around the time I did, and they said it wasn't running very well. So we'll see if that holds in the future. Yeah, I mean, and yeah, I mean, I've seen more people saying Beast is their favorite, so it's fair. It obviously doesn't have the elements or the airtime or the layout, I guess, of the other coasters, like something like Mystic. But it's just at night, it's unbelievable. That's all I'll say. And the retrack, it was, I don't know what it was like before, but it ran super well. So that was exciting. Was I able to get a Voyage night ride? So I got a pretty late ride. It wasn't quite dark enough to be considered night, but it was kind of in the sunset-ish stage, maybe a little after. I don't know what you call it, but it was getting darker, and so I guess I got somewhat close, but not really. But even without it, Voyage was still my favorite coaster, is still my new number one, and it was my favorite coaster of the trip. So, yeah. Let's see. You had a top 100 coasters you've ridden video. I actually was thinking of making one, but this trip, and I'm gonna be going to Atlanta in a few weeks here, so I can't really work on it much. I might resume it or think about doing it like at the end of this year when I'm probably not going to be doing too much for a little while in terms of new credits. But yeah, that's I mean, it's good. It's a good thing, but for the video, it's annoying. So yeah, I did prefer Mystic over Gold Striker pretty definitively. I got 6 rides in on Mystic, including, I did get a night ride on Mystic, which that was absolutely fantastic as well. And yes, I did try the blue ice cream at Kings Island. I thought it was pretty good. Quite good actually. It tasted very kind of like, the way my dad described it, who was with me. I think it's pretty accurate. It's kind of like vanilla, but with like a extra sort of punch to it. Supposedly, it's like a blueberry flavor punch sort of thing to it. So that was very enjoyable, and I was happy to try that. Definitely the best food item at Kings Island from what I tried. The other things weren't. I mean, I just had like restaurant stuff, but honestly, their food wasn't all that great. That's like kind of the biggest knock against them. I did not go to Indiana Beach. I was considering it, but I decided against it because my hope with going to Indiana Beach would be visiting it so I wouldn't have to go back either again or for a very long time. And with America Dreer Looping still under construction, that really didn't make a ton of sense for me to go. Even though it was actually closer to where I was compared to the other parks, I still decided to go a different direction. But it was something I was considering. Do I think a Vekoma tilt coaster could go to a Cedar Fair park? If so, which one? I mean, I don't know if Cedar Fair would get one, but in a hypothetical situation where they did, I would say honestly to answer if they could get one. I mean, maybe, but I doubt it. And as for where, funny thing is, Great America might have been a good spot if they could have made it compact, but obviously that's not getting anything. Um, that is a. I mean, I guess I could see a world where like you could put that in as like a King's Dominion, like sort of volcano replacement, and that could sort of work out. So I think that actually isn't a horrible idea. So perhaps like King's Dominion would be one that would kind of make sense there. Um, I mean, yes, a dive coaster isn't too far away, but it still is different enough from a dive where I think, yeah. Yeah, I know I'm pretty behind in the questions. Most underrated coaster I rode on the trip. Um, I guess like Beast definitely is surprising, but it does get a lot of praise, so I'm not gonna call it that. Um, and the Holiday World Woodies, I loved all three of them. Those get appropriate praise. And the Kings Island coasters, I think were about right. The one I would probably say is actually Backlot Stunt Coaster. That was legitimately like probably one of the better family coasters I've ridden. It was really fun. It had a good launch, a good sort of upward helix, a good in the dark section, and that like kind of final drop and head chopper toward the end with the bridge and like the fencing that actually goes under the bridge was pretty crazy. Backlot Stunt Coaster was a pleasant surprise. It's actually my number 6 coaster at Kings Island, over Racer. I did not get to do the bat because it was down at the time, but yeah. Probably Backlot, I would say was pretty underrated. Um, you were also impressed with Orion. Yeah, it was a lot better than I was expecting. It's my new favorite B&M, which I did not expect that at all. So that was awesome. Let's see what else we have. Yeah, so this is an interesting thing. I didn't see this get brought up that much, but the question is, should the 49ers go back to San Francisco? They're not. Um, yeah, the new stadium, for one, isn't really well renowned, and it has caused a lot of problems for Great America. For those who don't know, anytime the 49ers have a home game or there's a concert at the stadium that is very large or a large event there, Great America is forced to close because they share the same parking lot. Now, I'm sure in their deal they have like a certain paid amount that maybe makes up for it. Maybe it doesn't. I don't know. I would assume that would be the case. But even still, it's kind of bad for just kind of public perception to be closed on like Sundays when it's still pretty warm and like pretty good days where you would like to go to the park. So I know it's impacted how I've kind of looked at when to go. So it has caused a lot of problems, and I think it was a big factor as to why Cedar Fair sold the park, or sold the land, I should say. Although I think they wanted to get out of NorCal completely because they also let the Gilroy Gardens sort of operator contract expire last year, which wasn't talked about too much, but that news came out a few days after the Great America thing. It's pretty expensive up there to operate, so kind of understandable. But Favorite coaster at Kings Island, like I said, it was Beast. How was Thunderbird? It was fine. I wasn't super impressed with it. I do prefer Gatekeeper over it. It is a very different coaster, and it was cool to finally do a B&M with a launch. It was my first one, but I wasn't too impressed with the layout, to be honest. But I will say my favorite element was that the slow roll toward the end where you get the head choppers with the barn. That was pretty cool. And I didn't know they had barn owls in the station. There were like actual living barn owls just like hanging out in the station, which is pretty cool. Outside of the fact that one was sitting over like where people were supposed to like sit in the train, and so you were always horrified that it would poop on you when you're getting loaded or returning to the station. So outside of that, that was pretty cool. The actual coaster though, it was okay, but it didn't really blow me away. It was my fourth coaster at Holiday World pretty easily. I actually preferred Raven, which is funny because my first ride of the day, I got first ride of the day, first public ride of the day on Raven, and I liked it, but I thought Legend was better. I also rode that early, but then I rode both of them again toward like the end of the day, and Raven really warmed up. And the one thing with Raven is that the drops in terrain usage. There's a garbage truck outside. That is what is making the noise. But the drops on Raven and its use of terrain is unbelievable. And it's compared to the other wooden coasters, like just how big those drops are compared to what you see coming ahead of you. It is completely unique, and the airtime on it is completely ridiculous. It also even has some laterals toward the end of the ride once, some pretty good ones once it's warmed up. It's not at all a tame wooden coaster like I thought it might have been. So I guess it's the tamest at Holiday World, but I could see why people are saying they could use an actual family Woody. But yeah, let's see. How busy was Kings Island? I went on July 3rd, which meant I did get a fast lane for it. I pretty much had no choice. And yeah, it was very busy. It was a Sunday and it was the day before the 4th. But I will say, fast lane, if you're considering getting it at Kings Island, I can tell you it's 100% worth it. I got in 35 total rides. Like if you do the final ride count, it totaled up to 35 on it. And for most of the coasters, you go right in the station. So highly recommend doing, like, if you are looking into that, if you are going and you know you're not going to be back for a while, I would definitely recommend looking at that if you're visiting Kings Island, the Fast Lane Pass. If you're kind of in that instance like I was. Let's see. Wow, there's a lot of Q&A. I really gotta try to move. I don't have a favorite MLB or NHL team, but my favorite NFL team is the Atlanta Falcons. I don't think Flight Deck will be relocated. I think it's too old, even if they could kind of figure out the terrain usage or how to relocate it, even with the terrain stuff. I think the age is potentially a bigger factor. I didn't ride in Vertigo. I made the decision not to after my ride on Boomerang at Six Flags Discovery Kingdom because I still had quite a bit left in terms of the trip to go. I was going for more of a business project reason. I just got to take a few breaks and got to go to those parks, a few parks, but I wasn't going to do it because I wasn't going to risk like having getting beat up on it, or like Boomerang got me pretty bad at Discovery Kingdom about, like, I guess it was over a month ago. So yeah. No, there's no way a major new park will open in the Bay Area. Stuff's too expensive to operate up there. I mean, it is everywhere in California, but gonna be pretty difficult. I would be pretty shocked. And I know there's like that weird beer park thing that has been making the news, but I think that's like a complete like sort of marketing stunt. I don't think that's anything real. But I think there's not going to be a major park to replace it. There's no way. The big question, yeah, I already answered Raven. Yeah, Hershey Park Enthusiast is winning the bet. I already told him that, like, I haven't given him the money yet. But I already was like, yeah, you're probably getting it. We're just gonna wait for an official confirmation. But I basically told him that, like, congratulations. So, and if that's the case, he'll be a guest on here on Coaster Time because that was also part of the bet. Let's see. If I had to guess, bat probably would have been anywhere from 6 to 8. If I had to guess, probably 7 or 8. I'm sure it would have been pretty enjoyable. Maybe even the best aero suspended coaster, but couldn't check it out, which is unfortunate, just because of the obviously derailing that happened a little bit earlier. Let's see. You rode Hellcat at Clementon Park 10 times on Thursday and it fixed your back pain. Nice. That's coaster therapy, literally. So there you go. That's actually pretty cool. Interesting. Oh yeah, MetLife. So they do share. I didn't even know they shared a parking lot with American Dream Mall. And the teams can sue the mall if too much of the parking lot is used during home games. Wow. Yeah, if you build a park, don't build it too close to the stadium, to a large venue or stadium. That's the moral of the story, I guess, with Great America. And American Dream Mall hasn't been doing so hot. Not really related to that, but yeah. Do you think a ride will ever occupy the Tomb Raider space? I did take a picture by it. I saw the entrance. I didn't even know it was still there. Or the old entrance. So that was pretty cool. I'm not sure. I don't really know the specifics of the land used, but potentially. I think probably, but I don't know if it'll be anytime soon. SeaWorld San Diego is getting an Intamin motorbike. It's like basically 99% confirmed at this point. So, Intamin motorbike coaster. I did prefer Kings Island, yes. I preferred Kings Island over Cedar Point. Not because the coaster lineup was better, it wasn't, but just because overall Kings Island was excellent in the sort of, it had an amazing atmosphere, amazing operations, dispatches, really friendly and everything, and it was a really nice park. And I really enjoy that they had a large indoor seating area, the Fest House. More parks should have something like that. That was actually really nice to go into and eat in. So, Kings Island I preferred over Cedar Point. I did not get stung by a bee on a coaster on this trip, so I'm still free of that. Goliath at Over Georgia has been known to get people stung by bees, so I hope I can avoid that there. I really hope so. And let's see. Yeah, I heard Vertigo was actually it runs smoother than the boomerangs. I just wasn't gonna risk it. Had it been toward the end of my trip, I would have done it. But yeah, we'll see. San Diego and the Bay Area are, yes, they're in California, but two totally different stories and everything. So, and that park had been planned out for a while, and it was a conversion of a park, not of an existing park, rather than a new one. So I don't really see, maybe a little thing pops up in San Francisco and in the Bay Area, sure, but I don't see like a major park popping up there. I'd love to be proven wrong though. That would be great, because something needs to compete with Discovery Kingdom up there. I mean, That's just pathetic that it's going to be like the Monopoly of the North. What coaster will be removed from Six Flags Magic Mountain next? That's a good question. It's very difficult to choose because, I mean, I I think your options are probably like Viper and Superman Escape from Krypton, but even those seem really unlikely because Escape from Krypton, they flip the train around and they have parts from Tower of Terror 2, and then with Viper, they have been like kind of working on it and refurbishing it over the past. They have done it in past seasons, so I don't know what that's going to be. Yeah, I'm from the Central Valley. I'm in Fresno, so yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm not really anywhere super close to a park, but I'm 2.5 hours away from Magic Mountain, which is not too bad. I went to Holiday World, Kings Island, and I didn't go to a third new park, but I also went to Six Flags Magic Mountain to ride Wonder Woman for pass holder previews because the dates perfectly lined up for it. I have to drive. We have to go from LA to Fresno. You have to pass by Magic Mountain, and so I arrived back in LA on Thursday, stayed the night, and then that Friday when Wonder Woman had its previews, I was returning to Fresno. So yeah, that's how I was able to get to Wonder Woman, which I'll kind of talk about that sort of thing in more detail in a bit, but I'll go through a few more questions here before I wrap it up for the Q&A for right now. Have I ever done any go-karts at an amusement park? I've done go-karts before. I don't believe I have done one at an actual park, that like at a Six Flags or Cedar Fair or anything like that. I don't think so. There was a Legoland driving school. I don't know if you count that as go-karts, but that would probably be like the closest thing. I don't even remember what the thing looks like, but I know I did it. So, but other than that, I have not. Yeah, the Levi's Stadium thing, that was just unfortunate because Great America was already established there. Um, so that they had no control over that. But American Dream, they had control over where they could have been. So, you know, so we'll see. If any, we'll see about parks in California. You know, SoCal is pretty saturated, but it feels like something would go there if anything were to happen in terms of a new park. I just have a very difficult time seeing NorCal getting anything new, but maybe I'm wrong, so we'll see. What do I think will replace Vortex? I think a mock multi-launch would be perfect at Kings Island. That's kind of the big thing. I felt like going there. I'm like, yeah, that would be a really good fit. So mock multi-launch would be awesome. Yeah, I've been to the Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk. It's really fun. I really love Giant Dipper. It is my favorite classic wooden coaster, like really old one. So I really like that park. It's really fun, and it is in the Bay. It doesn't really compete with Discovery Kingdom. Some people were like saying I talked to some people, and when I said Discovery Kingdom was gonna be like the Monopoly of NorCal, they're like, well, Santa Cruz still exists, but I don't really think Santa Cruz really competes with Discovery Kingdom. It's two different demographics, and most people going to the boardwalk are also going to the beach that day, so pretty different. But yes, I do like the Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk. How many inversions do I think RMC Wildcat will have? Eh, I think we'll see 3 to 4, if I had to guess. Um, 3 to 4. I guess if you had to give me an exact number, I think They haven't really gotten a coaster that is focused on inversions at all. I don't think like the last coaster they got that even has inversions was Fahrenheit. Not saying that that really means much, but I could see them trying to go for four. If they can fit it in there. So yeah, yes, there can be traffic. It's Santa Clara is not too far away from, or Santa Clarita isn't too far away from Los Angeles, so there usually is traffic around there. So yeah. What did I think of the trains and comfort of Wonder Woman Flight of Courage? So the restraints are much better than Railblazer. I will say that. The actual like shoulder things were a lot better. The actual seating position was a teeny bit uncomfortable for me. I don't know exactly if it's that much different from Railblazer, like what the difference is with like how you're sitting and where your legs are kind of placed, but it seemed different. And my dad, who's taller than me, was really uncomfortable with it. So they still need to work that out in terms of their train design. But at least for the restraints, it was improved. So that is the thing I will say there. I did eat at Plymouth Rock Cafe. I got something called Thanksgiving in a bowl. And yeah, it was very good. My dad got some, it was pulled pork, some sort of pulled pork dish thing, and the pulled pork was really good. Although probably pulled pork from anywhere around that part of the country is going to be great. But yeah, it was quite good. It was some of the better like park food I've had. So yeah, would recommend if you are there to check out Plymouth Rock Cafe. Tried to make that something to do because I'm like, that's a pretty notable restaurant at the park. Let's see what else we have. Let's see. Will I miss California's Great America? Yes. I've only ever been twice, which is kind of sad. And I am planning to go back. I'm hopefully going to do it this year because I know it's probably going to be getting worse and worse for however much longer it's going to be open for. But yes, I'm definitely going to miss it even if it wasn't like one of my all-time favorite parks. Gold Striker is an awesome wooden coaster. Railblazer, which I imagine will probably get relocated, but still, really good single rail coaster. I mean, just an awesome coaster in general. Has some of the strongest airtime of any coaster I've ever ridden, and it's just a completely insane ride. And Flight Deck is also really fun. And the park's just, it's small, but it's always been kind of, it's been, I know I've heard like the crowds have been a little crazy as of late in terms of I've heard some weird stuff going on there, but at least in my experience it's been pretty nice. So yeah, there's definitely gonna be some definitely it's gonna be pretty sad when it goes, for sure. I don't think SeaWorld would touch Marineland. I mean, that park, they have, I mean, there's like a ton of, I don't even know how all that would be. I'm imagine it would be pretty expensive to buy. There's so much land. It's theoretically in a great location. It's not too far from Niagara Falls, if I remember correctly. But they have so many problems with their animal situation. It's like been a big problem the past few years, and I think even more sort of things have surfaced. Now SeaWorld has went through Blackfish, so I guess theoretically if anyone could kind of fight through it, it's them, but I don't think they would touch it. It just doesn't seem likely to me. I did ride the Eiffel Tower twice. That's where I mentioned earlier, but first time I was ever recognized at a park, Coaster Evan saw me and we talked for a bit. He was really cool. But yeah, I did go up there twice. So it's got some pretty nice views and it was cool to do for sure. I'm gonna try to hit it up later this year. I actually have a friend who he rode his first coasters there, so we were talking about potentially going there at some point this year, but we'll see what happens. Thoughts on Kings Island's Racer? It was solid. It is not one of my favorite classic wooden coasters. What's really funny is that you can totally tell. I mean, I guess it kind of should be this way, but you can totally tell where Gravity Group retracted, and then the second it gets off of that track, it's like it gets quite a bit bumpier, I guess. In some places, I'd say it's a little rough, but it's not too bad. And I will say the blue side runs better than the red side, like pretty easily. I was able to get on both sides. I don't count each side as a credit, but the blue side runs quite a bit better. So that is something I will say. It was a solid coaster, had some good air time, but nothing too crazy. I think I'll answer up to Imperial Coaster's Flight of Fear question, and then I'll kind of diverge and go into my actual like subjects of like sort of more into like my sort of trips and thoughts of the park. I mean, I've gone into it a little bit, but I guess more like in depth. What's Blackfish about? It is a documentary that released, what was it, like 10 years ago at this point? 10, 11 years ago, something like that. Basically about the conditions the orcas were in, the like how they captured the orcas, stuff like that. At SeaWorld. That was basically what it was about. It was a documentary. So, yeah. Yes, absolutely. That was like the big thing. Like immediately after we left, I was like, I really want to get to Hollywood Nights this year. So yes, definitely that is something that I have more sort of motivation to go visit. But yeah, that's definitely something that I really was wanting to do afterwards. So that was that because Voyage was my number one, and so wanting to ride it at night and the other coasters at night. And I haven't done a coaster enthusiast event, but it would be really fun. So yeah, really good question there, Time Mike. Let's see what else. There was, oh, someone asked about Santa Cruz, Fright Walk or Haunted Castle. I haven't done either of those yet. I've vaguely heard of them, but I don't know much about them. I have not done either. I mean, I imagine Rock and Roller Coaster is better because it's indoors. I'd hope so. And then yeah, Flight of Fear. And I saw the thing. That was from a post Sarah posted. Coaster Hockey Gaming Boy. I'm not gonna explain that, but it was from a post that Sarah put out, I believe, is I think the story there. But yeah, I think that's sort of the story there. What do I think of Flight of Fear? Right, that was the one I was trying to get to. I'm still a little tired. I got back from the trip not super long ago. Friday, I guess. It's been a few days, but still. 2.5 weeks, and mostly focused on doing a project with a few parks in there. But for Flight of Fear, I was not a big fan of it. It was actually, there's coasters being rattly, but this thing was, I would say, legitimately rough, like the roughest coaster of the entire trip. I don't know if I got it on a bad day, a bad train, or what the deal was, but I mean, it's a good thing it had lap bars, because if it had over the shoulder restraints, that would be it would have like destroyed my head. It was pretty insane how kind of uncomfortable it was. So that was definitely not a highlight, and it was actually my least favorite coaster there at Kings Island the day I went. it wasn't like completely horrible. There were still things I liked about it. The launch was pretty good, and I like any indoor coaster I like. So yeah, and sort of in the dark coaster. So, or at least I like that aspect of it, just being indoors, but it definitely was underwhelming to say the least. And so I think that's gonna wrap it up for the answer. I guess I'll answer the Banshee question. I did like Banshee. It was a lot more intense than I was expecting. I don't know why. Just because I guess it was more spread out. I guess I was like, I don't know how it was gonna be, but no, it was really intense. And that final roll, I'm amazed that they hadn't put it on more B&M inverts before. But that final roll, like being in the inverted position, is just completely insane. So I liked Banshee. It was It's my second favorite invert behind Raptor, and yeah, it was pretty cool. Why am I a Falcons fan if I'm from California? I have family in Atlanta. That's why. And yes, I watched. I was a Falcons fan back then, and that was a painful experience. But yeah. Alrighty, so I guess I'll go into the sort of things I had for the trip. So as I mentioned, I went to. I haven't talked about Diamondback yet. It's the first B&M Hyper I've ridden. But I guess I'll kind of run through just my thoughts on the coasters. Flight of Fear I already explained, but I was not impressed with it. It was a lot more uncomfortable than I was expecting. Roughest coaster of the trip, which is saying quite a bit considering I rode 7 wooden coasters. So that was definitely not very good. Adventure Express was an okay mine train. The chat is dead and Coaster House said he was ending the stream. I did not say I was ending the stream. But anyways, Adventure Express was a solid mine train. My dad didn't know about the ending, so it was kind of funny seeing his reaction, like going up the lift hill. And he thought there was going to be something, and there wasn't. The final lift hill at the end, so that was pretty funny. Woodstock Express was a family wooden coaster. Not too much to it. It had some airtime, but not too much there. Already went into Racer, back lot. I already went into Banshee. Already went into that. Diamondback. So this was interesting. In that Diamondback, what I will say about it is that the airtime, the floater airtime, was really good. Probably the best of any coaster I've ever been on. But it's a very, and this is kind of what I felt about the B&M Hypers just from looking at them. They're very repetitive, and that's what Diamondback is. I mean, it is just repetitive airtime hill after airtime hill, not really any variety. And for me, one of the things I value in a coaster is the kind of out of control feeling it has, along with sort of variety in the layout. And because of that, the more and more I rode Diamondback, along with the fact that the trim on the mid-course went harder on the sort of later rides I got, made me enjoy the ride less and less. So at the end of the day, it ended up being my 4th favorite coaster at the park. It was still enjoyable. It was still fun, but I'll just say I'm a lot lower on it than most people are. But Orion did really impress me. Orion did really impress me in the way that the sensation of speed, I rode it in the front. Front was my favorite row. I tried doing toward the back. I got close to there, but I preferred the front. The sensation of speed on it was really good. And the variety of elements I also really liked. Yes, you got some really good floater on it, but there was at least a little bit of variety to it. You had some more sustained floater, and then you had the speed hill, which was like quicker sort of pop. And that like figure eight, I don't know if figure eight's the right word, but that one helix that toward the sort of end of the layout was actually really intense. At least for me, I was very impressed with that, and the ride overall was really good. Like I said, it's my favorite B&M now, and I was very surprised with it, especially because I rode it after Diamondback, and it was a very different ride experience. So for anyone who I guess was concerned about them having to basically B&M hypers in the same park, they are very different rides, so they play off each other pretty well, which was very nice to see, and I very much did enjoy Orion for that. Mystic Timbers, another coaster I was really impressed with. I was a little concerned because it was really airtime focused, so I was wondering would it feel out of control? But the pacing was so good on it, and the transitions are so fast that I would say it definitely did feel pretty out of control and crazy in that way. And the airtime it gave was really good. And its setting is also really good. Like going through the forest, it's obviously not beast level, but it's also really nice. Pretty secluded as well. So it definitely was one of my favorite coasters of the trip and my second favorite in the park. And then the Beast, what ended up being my favorite, I mentioned earlier, based off Night Ride. The Night Ride on it was just insane. The sensation of speed on it, the double helix finale, and really the entire ride in general, just whizzing through the trees and the forest, and even like when it's pitch black in the tunnels, it's very dark throughout most of the ride, but in the tunnels it's pitch black. I mean, it was unlike anything I had ever done, in a really good way, and it really impressed me for that reason. So that is, I guess, my thoughts on the Beast and my thoughts on the coasters at the park. As I mentioned, didn't do Vertigo, I skipped it intentionally. Bat was down because it had derailed not too long before I had visited. And then Flying Ace Aerial Chase and Great Pumpkin Coaster I also chose to skip. Some other rides I did Eiffel Tower, as I mentioned, had some good views. I did the Railroad thinking it gave you a tour of the park. It really doesn't. It's more of just a transportation ride from the station, which is kind of near the Planet Snoopy area, to the water park. You do get some good views of Diamondback and Mystic Timbers you wouldn't otherwise, which if you're trying to do footage, that might be helpful, or get pictures. But outside of that, there's not really much reason to ride the Railroad. So that is that. And then I also did the Charlie Brown Log Flume. It was fine. Got me a little more wet than I was expecting. And then their Boo Blasters was actually pretty bad. A lot of their targets weren't working. So I would definitely have to say it was the worst really dark ride in general I've ever done. I'm a little spoiled there because I've done mostly Disney and Universal. But I've done a few other things like Justice League, some of the Knott's rides, and a few different ones, but that was definitely like the worst one just because so many of the targets weren't working, and it was kind of hard to tell how to aim, to be honest. So yeah, I'm not reading the chat. I tried to transition, but I was saying that I was going more into like sort of ride by ride and like overall park experience. But I will go back through some of the chat stuff once I kind of finish like my sort of Kings Island, I guess, notes. But outside of that, as I mentioned, the park was really well run. It had amazing operations, dispatches, really nice atmosphere and feel. And that is really something that I appreciated. And like I said, I also really enjoyed the Fest House. Having a big place where you can eat indoors is really nice. So I really appreciated that. And just overall, everything went pretty smoothly. As I mentioned, I used the Fast Lane Pass 2, which definitely they have like the best sort of system in place in terms of how it all works based off what I've experienced. So that was really nice. And so that was a pleasant surprise, and the blue ice cream was also great. And then also, I guess I'll mention it here now. I recognized 3 ride-ops when I was there. Um, there was, I forget what his last name is, but Paul, he's on Instagram. I think he's appeared in like some Coaster Studios vlogs or something like that. I saw him working on Orion. Micah from Coaster Frenzy, I saw him working on Diamondback. He's a ride-op there now. And he actually loaded the train I was on. And then emotional roller coasters on Instagram. She was at Mystic as well. So I saw and recognized all 3 of them. I didn't say hi because they were really trying to get those dispatches out quickly. So I didn't want to like screw with that. But that was something pretty cool because I had hardly ever like seen people that I recognized at parks. So that was pretty cool. No, I didn't see Logan. I already was asked that by a few friends of mine, and no, that didn't happen. I'm aware he works the drop tower sometimes, or at least at one point he was. I didn't ride that, so maybe that's what it was, or he wasn't there, but I didn't see him. Yeah, Coaster Frenzy came back recently, yeah. So that's how I knew I was like, he mentioned he worked at Kings Island, but in his like return video, and I didn't remember that until I was there. It's like, oh yeah, he mentioned that. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, so that was Kings Island. I'll go back through the chat here, see what was said. Yes, I preferred Orion to Diamondback. A lot of people seem to have seen Coaster Studios in Europe. That's I guess that kind of makes sense, visiting around the same time. So yeah, a lot of people going to Europe and specifically Energylandia around each other. It's pretty crazy. So that's kind of cool. Super Bowl predictions this early. I'm not even gonna go there yet. I'm gonna wait on that a little bit. Let's see. Love the response on Diamondback. I'm sure there's other people, you and others as well, who kind of agree. I'm sure I'm not alone in that, but I've heard so much praise for it that I had to say something because I had a little bit of a different take on it, at least compared to what I've mostly seen. Let's see. Barry Island Pleasure Park got KMG 32. Interesting. Wasn't aware of that. And yeah. So I'll read a few more of these and I'll go into Holiday World. That'll be quite a bit shorter, I think, because there's a lot less rides to cover. Thoughts on Holiday World as a park and rides. I really like the park. I thought it was really well. It is very charming. I will say that the dispatches, I don't want to rail on them too much. They were slower than like say Kings Island, but Kings Island's really good. They were a bit slow, but I think part of that is because Raven and Legend, their bins are really close to like where you get off of the train. And I think a lot of times they had to wait to open the gates until people were like out, mostly leaving the station. I saw that happen a lot, and so that's a pretty major sort of inconvenience to go through, for sure. Kind of, I guess in hindsight, not exactly the greatest station design just because of that, but overall it was great. The food was awesome, and they may not have a ton of rides. And I also did do the water park. I did the 3 water coasters. But if you include the water coasters, their top quality attractions are really good. Like their top 5 rides, I think they might be a little bit of a stretch, but they may, if I had to like pick a top 5 attractions at any park I'd experienced, they may have like my favorite top 5 in terms of attractions, but definitely up there. They have a lot of great, not necessarily a lot of great rides, but the the great rides they have are they're excellent. That didn't come out really well, but I think you get what I'm saying. Um, but yeah, I was really impressed with Holiday World. Thoughts on Voyage? It's my number one. I was very impressed with it. I mean, it was just insane. I do really like Airtime, but as I mentioned earlier, I really like coasters that feel really out of control. And Voyage, it combines both of those really well. I mean, the name Voyage for it, it's totally fitting. It feels like you're going on a voyage while riding it. And it is, I will say it's definitely, I can understand why it's not everyone's thing and why some people complain about the roughness, but for me it added to the experience. And it's not that unbearable. I really wouldn't say it was, but it is just insane. What surprised me the most about it was how quickly it picks up its speed after the trim. It's almost like you kind of just have like one wasted drop and that's it. It picks up its speed so fast. And those twisted hills twisted or banked hills, those are really pretty wild, getting airtime and laterals at the same time. So that really impressed me the most about Voyage. Oh yeah, Airtime Thrills. He drops a new video in 2 hours. Today's the day, right? Yep. Curious what that's going to be, but that should be fun. What was the longest line you waited for a coaster on the trip? The longest line I waited for any attraction was about an hour and a half for Cheetah Chase. I mentioned I kind of got stuck in that sort of situation. But for an actual roller coaster, as I mentioned, I had Fast Lane for Kings Island. Magic Mountain was a pretty short trip, so I didn't do much there, and I'll explain Wonder Woman in a bit. But it wasn't either of those. I think my longest wait was it wasn't for a coaster, it wasn't very long. I think there might have been like kind of one wait on Legend that may have been close to around like 30 minutes or something. I mean, yeah, I got pretty lucky in terms of things. So I think I think Legend I had to wait for a little over 30 minutes, which is definitely not bad at all to be the longest of the trip for a coaster. So that was pretty good. For this specific trip, I have waited much longer for coasters outside of it. But yeah, let's see what else we have here. I was at Holiday World, not on the 4th. I was there on... What day was I there? Because I visited Kings Island on the 3rd, and it was the Monday. So I think I was there the 11th. So that was what day I was there. I was not there on the 4th. I did not see their fireworks thing. I don't know if that's something they have after the park closes or what the deal was for Holiday World. I did see the fireworks for Kings Island, which was pretty cool. Or at least I saw part of it, but didn't see it for Holiday World. But yeah. I don't even know what the longest wait for a coaster is. Probably like around an hour and a half, 2 hours. I wouldn't even exactly remember when it would be, but I'm sure I've waited around that long at some point for one or a few. But yeah, let's see what else we have here. I think that's it. So I'm gonna go back to Holiday World, focus more on talking about the actual rides there. But at Holiday World, I was able to do the 4 major coasters, the 3 water coasters, and Gobbler Getaway. And I guess I'll start with the actual coasters. As I mentioned with Thunderbird, it was solid, it was fun, but I wasn't super impressed with it. And that is, it's just the elements didn't really pop out too much to me. Like I said, my favorite thing was like the slow roll with the barn toward the end. That was pretty cool. And the launch was fun, but the rest of the ride was just kind of like okay. I definitely prefer Gatekeeper over it. That is one thing I will say, but it was interesting to check out. But certainly number 4 at Holiday World in terms of the roller coasters and pretty far back. And I only did it once also. So, but then but then for my third coaster, I have Legend. It was really good. I was really, really impressed with it. The laterals and the longer helix section toward the end was pretty nuts. But it also does have some pretty good airtime on it. And as all the wooden coasters over there have, it had a great setting. So that was definitely a really fun ride, for sure. And I do actually rank the 3 Holiday World wooden coasters over at Gold Striker. So I will say that. They did impress me that much. But Legend was really good. Raven was my 2. Like I said, the really unique thing is the sort of drops it has, how you don't really see how far you're going to go until you're already going down, basically, and how strong the airtime in the back is. It is pretty crazy. It is definitely a pretty short ride. The Legend, the good thing about it is it's pretty long. But for the Raven, it is a pretty short ride, but I'd say make sure to give it a ride like kind of later in the day if you can, because I will say my morning versus my like later ride on it there's a massive difference. I enjoyed Raven a lot more later. So that was Raven, which I did twice. I did Legend twice. And then Voyage I did 8 times. The crazy thing with it was that it never had that long of a wait. Like the longest wait it had was like 20 to 25 minutes, and that was with like sort of a short delay in operation because of a restraint issue. But yeah, it was my favorite coaster here. It's my favorite coaster I've ever done. And I did do front, I did do back, I did do the front row of the back car, which some people said was the magic seat, but I preferred the back row. I mean, yeah, this coaster is it is incredible. Really, really good laterals. The airtime on it is legit. You get real good airtime on it and a ton of it. So that was very impressive, including on the larger hills where I thought it was probably just going to be very weak floater, but no, it was pretty sustained and pretty strong from my experience. And the pacing and relentlessness of it is just unbelievable. So that was pretty incredible. And that was my number 1 coaster of the trip in a Holiday World. I did do Gobbler Getaway. It was pretty fun. It was definitely a lot better than Boo Blasters. I'm pretty sure they're both done by the same manufacturer because the targets look exactly the same. But yeah, Gobbler Getaway, I mean, it wasn't amazing by any means, but it was pretty fun. I liked it. And then as for the water coasters, I mentioned I did them. Cheetah Chase, that was the one I waited the longest for. That one had a delay in operation that was pretty long. Waited about an hour and a half for it. It was a pretty fun ride, but definitely not as good as the other 2 water coasters. And the weird thing is like the kind of water you get splashed in the back with every time you kind of get launched is not exactly super comfortable. I don't know why. That was pretty weird. But the actual water launches themselves are fun, and there's some good drops on it. The racing aspect is kind of not that great because you really only see the person at the beginning and the end. So that was a little underwhelming, but it was still pretty fun. I rode the other 2 first, which was kind of a mistake because they were a lot better. Wildebeest was my second favorite of the water coasters. The airtime on it is insane, and the amount you get is also pretty crazy. And I really like I had never ridden a water coaster. This was my first one. So the magnetic hills it has, along with what Mammoth has, that was pretty cool to see. I didn't think you'd actually get that much airtime on those, but you actually do, which is pretty crazy. So Wildebeest was awesome. And then Mammoth, which I did twice. that was the best of the bunch. It was my second favorite ride at the park in total. Um, it has the amount and the insane airtime of Wildebeest, but actually I'd say even better. And the fact that you're also kind of sometimes going sideways, backwards, it makes the ride feel pretty crazy. So that was really, that was an amazing ride, amazing water coaster. And I'd highly recommend it for anyone going to Holiday World. Even if you're not a fan of water rides in general, make sure to do it at Holiday World because they are that good. I'd highly recommend them. So yeah, so I have seen the Mammoth over Voyage, and I can see a world where you could say that. I could see it. I not for me, but I definitely can see like a world where people say that because it was. I did not expect it to be that insane, and it was like just crazy. To be fair, I have hardly ever been to any. I've only been to 3 water parks basically before this, so these Mammoth and Wildebeest were by far better than anything I had experienced before, and even Cheetah Chase still would have been up there as like one of the better water rides I'd done had I never done the other two. So yeah. Make sure to do those 3 water coasters if you're at Holiday World. They were fantastic. But as for other things for Holiday World, as Stamford Bridge brought up, the Plymouth Rock Cafe was really good. I'd highly recommend it. And that restaurant also had a pretty large indoor eating area, which was nice. Great charm. The free soft drinks were awesome. Like I said, if you've never been there, you don't understand how much of a convenience it is until you're actually there. It's just so nice to just go to a station, get a cup, and just get some water, soda, or whatever it may be without it being a hassle at all. And also the free sunscreen, which we used, that was also really nice. Just really incredible. It really kind of helps elevate the how I perceive the park because those two things are it's so nice to have those things handled so conveniently. Where other parks, it's oftentimes a hassle to either bring your own sunscreen or buy your own sunscreen or try to look forever to find a soft drink or water or wait in a long line. But here, not an issue. And also free parking, so that's also nice. And then, yeah, that's pretty much everything I have to say for Holiday World. Really enjoyed it. I honestly don't know which park I preferred between Holiday World and Kings Island. It's actually pretty close for me. Both exceeded my expectations in different ways. But I was really impressed with those. So I'm going to look back through the chat here. Favorite free... I mostly stuck to water. It was really warm that day, and I had dealt with dehydration issues earlier in the trip. Not at a park, but I had dealt with dehydration issues working on a project, which was why I was over there in the first place. So I was mostly going with water. I did have some Gatorade though, that was pretty solid, but I didn't go too crazy. But usually I stick to water at parks anyways, so that's not even something that's unusual for me. But like I said, it was just such a convenience to have that. And I had some Gatorade, so, you know, getting that for free is nice. And let's see what else came here in the chat. Yeah, people were mentioning Coaster Daddy. Yeah, I miss him. I hope everything's going well for him. I know he's got the kid and everything now. Yeah, he was one of my favorite coaster YouTubers back in the day. Off topic, but yeah, that was. But I'm glad someone brought him up in the chat. Great channel. Make sure to check out his content, even though he hasn't uploaded in a while. If you haven't already, he's got some good stuff. His Coaster Cafe streams were also fun. So, yeah. Basically, he just got busier. I think he had a kid. Did he have twins? I should remember this because he was a former guest, one of my first Coaster Time guests. But I guess I haven't quite been keeping tabs on him as of late. But I know he's just been getting busier, and that's sort of what happened. So yeah, he had twins. Okay. So yeah, just stuff happened in life, and he doesn't have as much time to do videos. That's basically what happened from my understanding. Let's see what else there was. Not too much I missed, I don't think. So yeah. But yeah. So anyways, I mentioned I went through Kings Island, I went through Holiday World. I really liked those. And um, I got to do Wonder Woman previews because the timing of the trip lined up perfectly. My trip ended up getting extended a little bit, and so as I mentioned, I came back to LA on Thursday, the Thursday before pass holder previews. I live a decent bit away, so we stayed the night. We were gonna have to anyways, and we were gonna have to drive back home from LA that Friday, which I literally have to pass Magic Mountain. I literally can't. So that was sort of the. So when I saw that the previews were happening that Friday, I'm like, okay, yeah, we got to do this. And so I did. I did ride Wonder Woman Flight of Courage. Got to pass all their previews about as early as I could. I literally outran everyone to the entrance. Like I was literally the first person to ride Wonder Woman on pass holder previews. I literally outran everybody to the entrance. I only rode it once, unfortunately. I rode it toward the front. Me and my dad had essentially like almost a Zen ride on it because they were having apparently issues with their lockers that force trains to like go, and because their lockers are situated like right next to the queue, and so it like caused some problems, I guess, with capacity. But we ended up with like basically a Zen ride between the two of us on it, with first preview ride of the day, which was pretty weird. And I got front row. I tried to request for back. They weren't doing it. Understandable. It's previews, and assigned seating makes the most sense. Would probably make the most sense in that situation because there's a huge crowd. The line at one point from Wonder Woman went as far back as Goliath's entrance. If you've ever visited the park, you would know how far that goes. It went well beyond Superman and to Goliath's entrance. It was pretty crazy. But I got to ride it, and I will say it was a fun ride. The first half is definitely better than the second half from my experience. I really liked the dive loop. It wasn't as good as Railblazers, but it was still pretty fun. The first airtime hill was my favorite of the bunch. It gave some pretty good sustained airtime there. And the 0G stall was actually pretty sweet. Gave some really good hang time, which I was very happy with. I mean, I guess it was probably running a little slower, but at least the benefit of that is the 0G stall was going to be better. And even and I guess even the drop off the turnaround was also pretty solid as well. The trims didn't really hit from or too badly. I think they hit a little bit on the train we were on, but the return run, the airtime hills were pretty weak. And it was kind of crawling, especially during that last sort of weird like overbank element, which is actually kind of cool, just kind of being like weirdly sideways, not quite upside down, but it's kind of a weird sensation. But that sort of second half didn't really do much for me. I'm sure I'll get better rides on it in future months once it's running a little better, and with a full train and not like at the opening of pass holder preview. So I'm sure it'll kind of wear in better. But I still thought it was a pretty fun ride. It's currently my 4 at Magic Mountain behind Tatsu, Twisted Colossus, and X2. and I'll be curious to check it out more. It's my least favorite RMC up to this point, pretty definitively, but it was still a fun ride, and I think it fits really well within that DC area at Magic Mountain, because one of the big issues is that, or not the big issues, but one of the things with that area is that you have Batman the Ride and Riddler's Revenge, which are really intense, and this ride isn't really all that intense, so it's a nice change of pace. And it's also got some pretty good airtime on it, so definitely it fits well in the area and fits well for the park. So that's my thoughts on Wonder Woman. And the restraints were improved, as I mentioned, compared to Railblazer, but the seating position seemed a little weirder. My dad was pretty uncomfortable, and apparently taller guests were also pretty uncomfortable with the seating. But yeah, that was pretty much that there. So now look through the chat. We'll go back to Q&A. I left the Q&A thing up on the banner. Now that's why people are confused. Okay, my bad on that. But yeah, I guess, yeah, now we're back to like Q&A. Stanford Bridge says, I missed some questions of his, so I'm gonna look back. My bad on that. Let's see. I saw the one about the weather. Yeah, it was pretty warm, but you know, live in Fresno, and at Magic Mountain, it was actually like really hot. It was like over 100 degrees. Yeah, it was pretty hot that day, but it wasn't unmanageable. And it also helps that outside of Cheetah Chase, the two water coasters actually have like tarps. Or at least Wildebeest had tarps to serve as shade and fans. Mammoth, I used a single rider line, so that I didn't have to wait very long for it. But there was at least some shade for some of the for Wildebeest, which helped when we were in the water park. But it wasn't that horrible, I guess. And let's see, I'm gonna try to find the other question you had. Oh yeah, yeah, I thought that was interesting. I think it seems like interestingly enough, Legend and Raven had longer lines, basically the entire time at Holiday World. So maybe Voyage is too much. I'm not sure. Or maybe people just were like entering consistently and they stuck around there and the water park and just didn't, I guess, venture far as back as the Thanksgiving area, even though there's literally an entrance that goes straight through Voyage to the water park and exiting it. So that was interesting. And I don't think Thunderbird ever got too busy. It's like really far away. So yeah. Okay, so I think I caught up to those, and now I'm gonna check in here. Let's see. There's a lot of comments that I have a hard time sorting out between that and questions. I saw something from Airtime Mike that I wanted to there it is. After Hollywood Nights, those Beast Night rides will drop behind all three Woodies at Holiday World. Voyage, I'm really excited for the night ride, and also Raven I think could climb really high too. I mean Legend also. I mean all of them probably will, because they all have this setting. But I'm super excited to check out the three wooden coasters during Hollywood Nights. And I guess I'll try to go there as soon as next year if it makes sense. I'd love to. We'll see what the situation looks like, if it'll be a capped event in terms of capacity. In some ways, I'm kind of hoping it is. Some ways, I'm hoping it isn't. Guess we'll see what it is. Just because I know that sometimes lines can be have gotten decently long as the event has grown. But either way, will be really fun regardless. So, yeah. Let's see. What was an embarrassing thing you had at the amusement parks? Anything like... I'm trying to think of embarrassing moments at a park. Oh, actually, there was one thing. So I mentioned how the sort of queue, the stations for Raven and Legend are pretty small. Well, I don't know how this happened, but I ended up because the station is already so close to the train and the track. I ended up getting off of Legend and walking like the wrong way, and like totally didn't see this red like sort of line um, where I guess I was not supposed to go. No one said anything, but I just kind of realized, oh wait, shoot, this isn't the exit, and then I exited the other way. That was kind of not great. There wasn't any issues. That was just kind of not a good thing to do. It was a total accident, but that did happen. I did see some people kind of hanging out, like kind of near there on the other side, though, which I think that was why I thought it was an exit, but it wasn't. How old am I? I am 19. 19 years old. I've been told I do not look like it. I look younger, apparently. And according to others, I look older, but usually people think I'm younger than I am. That's usually how it's sort of looked at. Yeah, I actually do think it's different enough from. I think it has a good. It fits in well. It's not super intense. It's got airtime that isn't as strong as Twisted Colossus, but I think that's fine. And it is a longer ride, which is also good because Magic Mountain has a lot of short rides. Um, or I guess they do have a decent amount of longer coasters too. Twisted Colossus, Goliath, um, among others, but Viper as well. But I think Wonder Woman fits pretty well, and it stands well. It stands on its own pretty well, actually. Even if my ride on it was probably worse than what others got, it was still pretty fun, and I definitely am excited to check it out more and more. Most disappointing ride of the trip. In terms of disappointment, Wonder Woman I didn't have super high expectations for, so I think I can't really say that. I don't think I had high expectations, but Flight of Fear was quite a bit worse than what I was expecting. So I might honestly just go with that just because it's like, wow, that was like really not good. Um, and I guess Diamondback, I was a little surprised that I ended up like I guess having that I wasn't as big of a fan of it as I was, so I might honestly go with Diamondback. Um, just because I don't know, I guess I expected more from it, and it was pretty basic, I guess. It was good, but pretty simple. So I think I'm gonna have to go with Diamondback there. Thunderbird also could be up there. It was for being a coaster that a lot of people say is like undoubtedly the best wing coaster. It really wasn't. It wasn't bad either. It was solid, but like so I think I'd still go with Diamondback though. I think I'd go with that. Yeah, Voyage is my number one. Um, and how many credits do I have? I have 114. So 114 credits, and I will be picking up some more at Six Flags Over Georgia, up to 11. But probably not going to be 11 because I don't know if I'll get to the kiddie coaster, basically. Um, Best slash worst food I had on the trip. Okay, so I actually, outside of the parks, if you want to talk about parks, best Holiday World with the Plymouth Rock Cafe, the food we had there, I'd say best. And then worst, the tacos at Kings Island. I'd specifically avoided getting any type of Mexican food in the Midwest because it has a pretty bad reputation. And I didn't get it at any standalone restaurants, but I did get it at Kings Island, and they were by far the most bland tacos I'd ever had. They were like almost flavorless. It was just like really bleh, I guess is the best way to describe it. And honestly, I would say that overall, that was the worst food of the trip. If you were to go outside of parks, I actually got to try Culver's for the first time, a Midwest chain, or I guess East Coast chain, but mostly Midwest. And I got to try something called a Wisconsin Big Cheese Pub Burger, and that was fantastic. It's a limited time item, but if you are near or you go to a Culver's before August 7th, that's the last day they have this burger. You gotta try it. It's both me and my dad agreed that it was the best burger that either of us have ever had, which is weird because it's from a chain place. But there you go. That burger was fantastic. So I highly recommend it. Did I do any non-coaster activities on the trip? I was out 2.5 weeks, so most of my trip I was working on a business project. That was a lot of hard work. I don't know how much I can go into it. I probably can't go into it too much. But that was what most of the trip was doing. The park sort of occurred on breaks. But outside of visiting the parks, I got to try some new chains of like fast food or fast service restaurants. As I mentioned, Culver's. I also got to try something called Noodles Company. That was pretty good. Steak and Shake. I'd had it before, but it had been a really long time. That was also pretty good. And I had Moe's, which I wasn't the biggest fan of, and I definitely prefer Chipotle over it. I also visited my first Kroger. And I also visited a park, not an amusement park, but a park called Mounds State Park. They have these man-made mounds that were made an extremely long time ago, and one of them they believe was used by the civilization that created it to be used as a sort of I guess for astrological reasons, just to kind of where the light shines on it, I guess, kind of shows the time of year and time of day, with one of them. And and actually what was interesting about that park was that there actually used to be an amusement park that operated where that park is. The person on it wanted to preserve the mounds in that like state park when I guess like the city or somebody wanted to take them out. And so they agreed with someone to have an amusement park be built around the mounds. And so they had a park that operated there for a little over 30 years, from like 1897 to 1929. And they actually had a Leap the Dips wooden coaster. We tried to find footers of it if they were somehow still there. They were not, as far as I saw, but they did have foundations for the train station that transported people from and to the park. The Leap the Dips coaster they had was apparently very similar to the Lakemont version, which was interesting. That's not at all why I went there. My dad was really interested in the place, and it wasn't too far from where we were, but that was pretty interesting for sure. The business project was not CIA related. That I can definitely get out of the way. Or like that's definitely not something that was that definitely was not what I was up to. I guess if I really have like I think I can say it was house related work. So yeah, I'll just kind of stick with that. I don't think I can go into it too much. Um, but yeah. Let's see. Do I remember when Canada Coaster Fan was the world's biggest Voyage fan? Yeah, and I can see why. I mean, it was insane. And I thought of him after those insane rides, just like, yeah, he was kind of right. Like, I know at some point he kind of backed off of his of it being like the best coaster in the world and everything, but I mean, I don't know. It might be the best coaster for me. We'll see if anything can top it, especially after Halloween nights. We'll have to see. Would I ever? Yeah, I'd love to do a Asia coaster trip. Um, and yeah, I think visiting India, yeah, that definitely is something I would like to do. If I know that my dad has a lot of interest in historical sort of uh, subjects, and so India has a lot of history and probably historical places that would be really cool to visit. So if I were to go with him, that would be pretty sick, and maybe hit up a few parks. And as for Asia, yeah, I'd love to do Japan is probably realistically the first country I'd go to for a lot of reasons. I mean, me and a friend have even discussed doing it, pretty light talks, but I would love to do that. And and like South Korea and China would also be pretty cool. And it's definitely something. It's probably a long ways from now, or a little ways from now, anyways. But it's definitely something I would love to do. When am I going to be at Six Flags over Georgia? I don't know the exact date, but in a few weeks here, like 2-ish weeks from now. Um, but yeah, I'll be over there. So if anyone sees me, you can say feel free to say hello. That's always something I want to welcome. So yeah, if you see me there, then yeah, make sure to say hi. Let's see. Yeah, to Culver's at Cedar Point. They have a Culver's at Cedar Point, and I missed it. Wait, what? There's no way. It has to be like near there. If they actually have one and I missed it, I'm gonna be mad. At least I know where to go the next time I'm there, I guess. Yeah, I did Krog. I haven't been to a major. I saw a few of those, but I didn't go to one. Um, let's see. Favorite coaster of the trip, Voyage, and let's see what else. Yeah, it was weird that eventually I ranked Voyage higher than Canada Coaster Fan did. Yeah, I know, kind of weird because I mean, kind of watching him, I was kind of like, I don't know if Voyage is got exactly the greatest thing in the world, but I think I'm kind of on that train now. TikTok is banned here, I guess in India. So, yeah, I mean, I I have it as in like I have the app. I don't hardly look at it, but we have it here, and I have the app. I hardly ever look at stuff though on it. What do I think will be the next coaster to challenge my number one spot? If there is, it would probably be Edgenica or Dynaconda. I've already mentioned I really like X2, and those coasters are like X2 on steroids. And Ride to Happiness are probably like the ones I could see dethroning Voyage. But even then, I find it probably unlikely, but we'll see. I don't think there's really any wooden coasters out there that I think look better. With no, I don't even think I'd say that. Although I will say, I guess I will say, wood coaster. If you can get a night ride on that thing, that would probably be pretty insane. So that would be something for sure. Let's see. Yeah, India would be pretty fascinating to visit for that reason. And my family, we also, especially my parents, are a big fan of Indian food. So Definitely in that regard, having like the most authentic thing would be pretty interesting. So, yeah. Yeah, like I said, Voyage is my number one. Yeah, okay, it's in Sandusky. Okay, that makes sense because I'm like, if there's a Culver's at Cedar Point, I gotta have it the next time I go there. Even if they don't have that legendary burger I was talking about, they still got. I still try to normal, like just I forget what it's called, but like the most normal burger you can get. It was pretty good. The cheese curds are also fantastic. Kings Island's not my new favorite park, and neither is Holiday World, but they're definitely up there. Top five at absolute worst for both of them. My name is Carrick. That is my actual name. So like Eric with like a C or a K before is how you pronounce it, and that's what you would have. Stamford Bridge. Every time I think before writing a new coaster, this might be my new number one. I have always been disappointed. The latest thing was Zadra. Expectations are a dangerous thing. But yeah. Yeah, Ride to Happiness. I've heard it's insane. I think what Coaster Dash also said it was his number one Canopy coaster. Does I don't know if I don't think he has it as his number one, but it's really high up there for him. For also like it would be pretty insane. I don't think I really don't think the other RMCs are gonna dethrone it, but who knows? And that is, it looks like that's pretty much. Oh, would I be willing to travel to India and visit? I would definitely hit up. The problem is I don't know where the parks are in proximity to the other places I would visit, but Imagica would definitely be up there on the bucket list. I definitely would hit up that one if I were to go there. And I'd have to do more research into the other parks because outside of Imagica, I'm not super familiar with the actual ride collections of the other ones. Let's see. And they are in the Mumbai area. Yeah, okay, so that would be pretty easy. Yep, that would work. So yeah, I guess that would be something to consider. Do I think Magic Mountain will invest in a dive coast? No. I don't think they will get a B&M dive. The interesting thing is if I think the Vekoma Tilt Coaster presents an interesting opportunity for them if they're willing to get one. Because you already have, Hang Time as sort of a dive coaster. You have Emperor to the south as a dive coaster. But a tilt coaster I think is different enough where I think it could be something they could do. And what would be really cool, I think I've suggested this before, but it'd be pretty sick if they put it in the steampunk area, gave it some steampunk type theming, kind of like the Six Flags Kidia art, and replace Scream with it. I think that'd be pretty sick. I don't know if Scream's area would exactly be would work out for a tilt, but I'm sure they could make something work out. They can take out more parking lot if they need. Whatever they need to make that work, that'd be pretty sick. Actually, I guess for earlier, but I don't know if they would take out Scream because it's not old enough. But I would like it if they took out Scream at Magic Mountain. I know someone asked earlier what I think the next coaster to be removed from there is, and that's always a tricky question, or at least it is right now. Ride to Happiness isn't even in Richard Bannister's top 50 European coasters. It probably isn't everyone's thing, if I had to guess. If I remember correctly, I think he doesn't like the Santa Cruz Giant Dipper. I don't quote me on that, but I feel like he actually doesn't like it, it's interesting. I mean, he's ridden more coasters than anyone else on the planet, so that is interesting, but yeah, but it is cool to see his like sort of reviews and trip reports because he gets to go to a lot of places that very few people have ever been, so it's pretty cool. Haven't checked out his website in a good bit though. Time Traveler looks underrated. Yeah, I think that's gonna be a really fun ride. And yeah, so let's see. I think trying to think through. We're at 15 minutes. Do you guys want to do a few rounds of Guess the Coaster? 1:45 my time, 4:45 Eastern. I started streaming at 12, so I'm gonna probably wrap this up not too long from now. I'll probably do a few rounds of Guess the Coaster because I mentioned I would do it earlier. And that'll probably be the end of that. So, but yeah, so that's pretty much everything in terms of, I think I went through most. If you guys still have any questions after the, I think I'll just do 5 rounds of Guess the Coaster. I'll do like kind of a final Q&A session, and that'll be the end of it, end of the stream. But I will say this, that there will be a Coaster Time episode this Saturday. So get excited for that, and there might be another one within a week from that, just because this summer's been a little crazy. So I feel kind of bad that I haven't been able to get too many Coaster Time episodes out, and so you might get some back-to-back ones pretty quick. Some back-to-back streams, Coaster Time streams, which is pretty rare. So we'll see if that happens though. But there will be a stream this Saturday, so that is gonna be the plan there. Alrighty, so I do have my coaster, so you can guess away in the chat. Try to guess the clues and try to guess the coaster. There's always a little bit of a delay with this. Okay, there we go. It is in North America, so far we have North American coaster. It is not a B&M. I have not ridden it, so far we have North American coaster. That's it. I mean, granted, we only have had 3 questions, but yeah. Let's see. It is operating. It is operating. It is not Mamba, and it is not Steel. So far we have operating coaster in North America. That is wooden, I guess. Operating wooden coaster in North America. Yeah, it is wooden. So we have North American operating wooden coaster. It is not a GCI. It's not Ravine Flyer 2. Let me just make sure something real quick. It's not Gold Striker. It is over 100 feet tall, so there is that. And it is at a chain park. But it is not El Toro. It is... I need to check... I need to, what is it? There's one thing I'm trying to check just to make sure. Okay, the manufacturer, that's a little weird that it says that it's that, but anyways. I wouldn't try guessing the manufacturer for this one is what I'm going to say. It is not a Gravity Group. It is not a PTC. However, it does have PTC trains, so I'll give you that. I don't believe it's on the East Coast. It is not a CCI. I did not ride it on my most recent trip. It's not Mystic Timbers. It's not Cedar Fair. It's not Toro. It's not Roar. It's not west of the Mississippi. I don't believe. It's not Voyage. It's not Racer. It is not in the USA. So there we go. It's a North American wooden coaster that is not in the US. It is not High Roller. It's not at Kennywood. Imperial Coaster got it right. It is Monster at La Ronde. Sorry, I was really behind the chat on that one, but and Coaster Hockey Gaming Boy also got it. It is Monster. So there you go. At La Ronde. So there you go. I'll get our next coaster. Alrighty, I have my next coaster, so guess away. RCDB didn't have a manufacturer listed for it, and Wikipedia had it as what was it, Martin and Fleming's, which is weird. But anyways, for Monster, it is not in Europe, but it is a steel coaster. So the new coaster I have, it is steel, and it is in North America. So North America steel coaster. It is not sick. It is not in Asia. So far we have North American steel coaster. Really narrows it down so much. Now we have US steel coaster. It is not a Gerstlauer, but it does have inversions, and it is at a chain park. So, steel US coaster with inversions at a chain park. It is not Quicksilver Express. It is under 300 feet tall, yes. It is not from B&M. It is not from Intamin. It is not over 150 feet tall. It is at a Six Flags park. It is not from RMC. It's not Ninja at St. Louis. It's not Scream. It is not under 50 feet. It is over 50 feet tall. It is operating. It is not at a Cedar Fair park. And it is not Max Force. It is not Mr. Freeze. And it is not from Vekoma. So far we have steel looping coaster at a Six Flags park between 50 and 150 feet, basically. It is not West Coast Racers. It is from a European manufacturer. It is not a launch coaster. It is not an Arrow. It's not Excalibur. It's not Wildcat. It's not Premier. It is not Revolution. It is not Full Throttle. It did not open in the last 10 years. This coaster has been around for quite a while. It is not a B&M, but it is a Schwarzkopf. So we have a Schwarzkopf looper at a Six Flags park. Let's see. It's not Launch. It's not Soke. It's not Montezuma's Revenge. It's not Revolution. I have not ridden it. Silver Bullet. No, it's not Shockwave. It is Riddler Mindbender, which, at least for my screen, it shows that Mr. Color Roaster got it first, followed by Imperial Coaster, Stamford Bridge, and Coaster Hockey Gaming Boy, along with History and Leisure. So, Riddler Mindbender is the correct answer. So, there you go. Oh, wow. Alright, we have our next coaster. We have our next coaster. I usually don't, I mean, I guess I can't really stop you if you try to do guess the coaster, but usually I'm not the biggest fan of it because usually it kind of like interrupts whatever else is going on. So, but I do have my new one. It is operating, and it is steel. So we have operating steel coaster. It is not Bullet, and it is not in the US. It is not in Africa, and it is not in Europe. So we have steel operating coaster that is somewhere in the world. It is a B&M, so we have B&M coaster that is operating. It is not in Asia. It is not Big Boom. It is not in China. It does not have inversions. It is not in South America, but it is in Canada. So we have a Canada B&M coaster without inversions. Got a few options there. It's not Oceania, it's not in Australia. Coaster Hockey Gaming Boy got it first for me. It is Leviathan, quickly followed by Mr. Color Roaster, Civilian Satellite, and Andre Carney. So that is the correct answer. I'm actually surprised that Leviathan... I mean, I guess Leviathan would come up first because it's the Giga, right? But I guess I would have thought maybe Behemoth or Goliath would have come first. Goliath because it would have been easier to type out first, but nice. There you go. Alrighty, so we'll get our next one, which I'll try to get the last two to be outside of North America for those of you who are outside of it. I mean, we did get 2 international coasters from the US. They just happen to be in Canada, so that's kind of funny. Let's see. Already gotten this one before. I got Jungle Trailblazer. Okay, I got one. Okay. Jungle Trailblazer is not the answer, but I was just saying that that one has come up on here before, so I'm not going to use it. But I do have my new coaster, so ask away. It is not in Asia. I'm not gonna do like some knockoff coaster. That'd be ridiculous. I mean, maybe someone would get it, but I usually try to pick things that are relatively recognizable. But it is a B&M, so we have B&M coaster, not in North America. A B&M coaster in Europe. It's not Jungle Trailblazer. It's not in Japan. But we have a B&M coaster in Europe that is operating. It's not in South America. It's not in the US. It's not in Canada. It's not in Australia. It's not in Mexico. And it is an invert. So we have a B&M invert in Europe. It is not Nemesis. It is not in the UK. It is not in Germany. It is not Silver Star. And it is not Black Mamba. And it is not Katoon. So it does have inversions. It is not Osiris. It's not Monster. It's not Batman at Parque Warner. It is not over 150 feet. And it's not Osiris. It's not Katoon. And it's not Monster at Gronalund. However, well, someone already got it. I mean, I'll partially give it. You shouldn't, I mean, I didn't need the specific park, but I'll give Coaster Hockey some credit. It is Monster at Wallygator. JW Coaster Vids was the first one to get it without guessing the wrong park. But yes, it is Monster. Actually, did I accidentally pass it? I want to make sure I didn't. Oh, wait, no, Mr. Color Roaster did get it first. Yeah, I think I totally skipped over it, so my bad. Mr. Color Roaster got it first. I think I said it wasn't it, but it was. Followed by Coaster Hockey Gaming and JW Coaster Vids. So I messed that up there. But alrighty, we'll do one more. And come on, gotta give me a good one eventually. Alright, that's a good one. Alrighty, I have my final coaster, so guess away. Why does Europe have 2 B&M inverts named Monster? They're far enough away where like no one would, where most people probably would never know, but it is kind of funny. I mean, to be fair, there's like a million Batmans, so, but at least that's a chain. Those are 2 different parks owned by 2 different groups, so. Why does, let's see. No, that you already read over that. It is not in Asia, and it is not a B&M. It is in Europe. It's not in North America. It's not a Vekoma. It's not Wisconsin. We were talking about Culver's, right? So why not guess? But no, it is not Batman, but it is an Intamin. So we have European Intamin coaster. It's not Nemesis Inferno. It's not in Italy. It does have inversions, so Intamin coaster with inversions in Europe. It is not in Germany, but it is steel. It is not Hyperion, but it is operating. It is not under 100 feet. It's not Tehran. It's not 13. Coaster Hockey Gaming Boy got it. It is Speed Monster. Yes, Speed Monster is the correct answer. That was a good snipe there, man. Like, that was actually really good. But Speed Monster is the correct answer there. So that'll be it for Guess the Coaster. I'll do one final sort of final like kind of end of stream Q&A before we head out. And I'll just mention one last thing as well, I guess, or a few last things before I wrap up the stream. First off, thank you to everyone who came here. Pretty good turnout, actually. So thank you to everyone who has been watching, whether you came in recently or a while before, or whatever it may be, or you're, of course, watching this on replay. Appreciate you coming on here. And also, as I mentioned, there will be a coaster time this Saturday. I guess the date could change, but it will probably be this Saturday. The guests will be revealed in a few days, and potentially there might be a coaster time just a few days after that, right before I leave for a trip, because there probably won't be a coaster time for a little while after that, because the Atlanta trip happens and I go back to school like 2 days after I come back. So, or 1 day maybe, I forget, but it's pretty close. So, could be a little while before there is another one. So, trying to end off strong. Any more trips, as I mentioned, Atlanta, and I will be checking out Six Flags Over Georgia. No Fun Spot because Air Force One is not going to be open, and I don't really care to get the other credits because it's pretty far from where I am. But there you go. And yeah, I think it's pretty much it. Oh, and I guess I'll tease this. So I mentioned on my Instagram a while back that I was thinking of a new logo, and I will say that a new logo for the channel is coming, but there may be more to it, so we'll see what happens in the next few months, but something big could be coming with the channel. So there you go. That's like that's pretty much the last thing I had there before questions. Have I ever been to a Falcons game, specifically at Mercedes-Benz Stadium? I have been to 2 Falcons games. I went to one when they were still playing in the Georgia Dome, where they got absolutely obliterated by the Panthers in a win or go home game basically. I guess win or go home isn't the right term, but the basically whoever won was making the playoffs. It was the year the NFC South was horrible, and the Panthers made the playoffs with a losing record. I went to that game, and I also saw the Falcons beat the Rams the year that the Falcons went to the Super Bowl. So those are the 2 I've been. That was in Los Angeles. I have not been to Mercedes-Benz Stadium yet. I hope to in the future, but it's just not going to happen this trip. Do I have a Discord server? Yes, but it's really dead. It's like really dead. And I just have become a little too busy to really do anything with it. So I want to get back to doing stuff with it once it makes more sense, but we'll see. I still got, I'm in college, so, that's not exactly something I can commit a ton of time to, in addition to channel and other things I want to work on, like, with my life. So, but hopefully at some point I can sort of recommit and do a lot more, like, sort of events and things with the server and, like, help it grow. But it's pretty dead right now. Is it true that CIA agents must deny it when... I mean, I imagine they probably do, but I wouldn't know anything about that, or would I? Um, the coaster pull tournaments, yeah. I mean, it's not even that I guess it's not that difficult to do, but I just it takes a little bit of time. So, yeah. Best fast food Mexican food chain. I mean, I haven't. A lot of the Mexican food I have around here are more like sort of local things and local restaurants, local chains, and they're not really fast food. And Chipotle isn't even really Mexican food, but then again, if you consider Taco Bell to be a Mexican food chain, then whatever. Chipotle is kind of almost its own thing. But I guess in that sort of style, I guess I'd pick Chipotle, even though I wouldn't really categorize that as Mexican food. Truly, anyways. Let's see. Can shoot, I don't even uh yeah, the Discord server. There's a link to it, I believe, on my channel page. I didn't put it in the description this time around. This stream was like pretty sort of like not really prepared. I think that's kind of um that, but and I would have my social links in the description. I don't even think I did that this time around, but I'll put it in the chat if you want. Like I said, it's pretty dead, but there you go. But anyways, let's see what else there is. Like, I still sometimes have announcements and like the uploads are notified on there, but like that's about it on the server. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Mexican inspired food. Yeah, I guess. You've never had Chipotle? I'd recommend it if you can check it out. It's not everyone's thing though, I will say that. Chick-fil-A is another one of my favorite fast food places to eat at. Or I guess that's fast service. No, actually no, that's fast food, I would say. But yeah. Let's see. Do you already know which classes I'll be taking in the fall? Yeah, I'm gonna be taking anthropology. Um, I am registered for 2 math classes, but I'm only gonna take one. I think I'm still kind of, but I'm registered for both, and I can exit out of whichever one I decide. But it's between trig and elementary statistics. I haven't done math. I didn't do math at all last year, so that's gonna be an adjustment. And then along with that, I have another film class which fills out general most of the class all the classes I'm doing fill out a general education requirement as I need and for transfer. And the other one I'm doing there's a 4th class I'm doing, and for some reason I am blanking out on it. But I'm doing something else, I guess. I got those classes decided a while back, and I haven't looked at it. I'm taking something else. I don't know why I'm forgetting. That's pretty bad. I'm pretty sure it's more on the cultural side for anthropology. So, yeah, it's the first time I've taken a class like that, so that should be pretty interesting. But those are the classes I'm taking. What do I think of Cedar Point's new restaurant and the Wicked Twister plot? I was talking about how it's nice to have those big indoor eating areas, and I think that'll serve as that, so that's kind of nice. I mean, I don't really think there's a whole lot you could have done with just the Wicked Twister straight plot itself, so I think it's a pretty solid addition to the park. In that sort of aspect, so I think it's probably going to be pretty good. And it looks like it'll be pretty nice, so I'm curious to see how it turns out, like interior wise and everything. Let's see, any other questions? Doesn't look like there's much. You're taking an astronomy class at the moment. Nice. I'd like to say, or maybe I did because I mentioned film, anthropology. I'm still focused on the class question. Film, anthropology, elementary statistics, or trig. Yeah, I don't know. I honestly don't. Oh wait. Oh shoot. I know what it is. I yeah, I forget the name of the class, but it I have it. I'm close. I'll have to get back on that one. Yes. There was. I don't cover ride incidents much anymore. Granted, that one is going to be covered on the next coaster time simply because the coaster permanently closed, so it falls under closures. But I'll also mention the whole deal. But it was. I forget the name of the park, but it was one in Denmark. Tivoli. It was Tivoli something. It wasn't Tivoli Gardens, but it was Tivoli something. They had a Sertori, if that's how you pronounce it, invert called the Cobra, and it derailed. And it ended up killing, I believe, a 14-year-old girl and injuring a bunch of other passengers. It was a very tragic situation. And it's not even a situation that I know a ton about, just because about how everything happened, what exactly the fault of exactly the whole how it played out, but I just know it was a really tragic situation. And obviously that's something you never want to see happen. So that was really unfortunate. I'm trying to think. Actually, I'll leave most of the other news. I'm surprised there hasn't been a whole lot of Wildcat questions. I guess. But yeah, Icon Park also has another controversy thing. I don't know too much about it. It's relatively new, but I guess they had this I think sort of shooting experience on their Ferris wheel, and I guess it received backlash just because of the shootings that have been around as of late. Also doesn't help that they were also in a pretty massive controversy with not even controversy, tragedy, with the Orlando Freefall fatal accident, which was obviously terrible. But they were another thing. So I don't know exactly much details on that though. I'm not sure what the ride exactly, what the not the whole experience, what the end goal or purpose of it is for the Ferris wheel. I just know there was backlash on it and they're changing it. And then Knott's had the fight thing happen, so that was obviously not good. This is why I don't cover it, because sometimes you just get a ridiculous amount of just tragic news, and it puts a damper on the coaster time stream. So that's why I kind of made the decision to not report it. That, and also I have guests on, and how comfortable are they talking about these situations? That's the other thing. So yeah. Icon Park did not reopen. I don't think that thing's ever going to be reopened. I don't think it should be unless it was under a different ownership and they made all the adjustments necessary to get that thing reopened. Under the current ownership, honestly, I don't think that Slingshot Group should even be allowed to operate rides. They've had a pretty sus history with obviously that, and there was also a Slingshot cable snap that people didn't really talk about that happened a year earlier, where thankfully no one was hurt, but essentially happened due to negligence. Slingshot Group is the company that operates the rides at Icon Park, outside of the Ferris wheel and their new carousel they got, along with several other standalone attractions. But yes, Orlando Freefall, I don't think it'll ever reopen, and honestly, I don't think it should. Like I said, unless there was like a complete like change in ownership and all that, then maybe that would make sense. But even then, I don't even think it would be a good idea, because I think that for that city, that's a pretty considering how big that is and everything, it's just kind of very difficult to keep that around. So the manufacturer is Fun Time, and but I was more talking about the actual like operator of the park. Although I do know that Fun Time and Slingshot are connected in some way. Yeah, there's also the Worlds of Fun rumors as well, which those are interesting. The Screamscape thing sounded pretty ridiculous, to be honest. 2 coasters in back-to-back years. I have a lot of doubt in that. Seems really unlikely. Yeah, I guess that's pretty much that. I think that's all the questions we have. Yeah, Northern Rides, great channel. Make sure to check them out. Would highly recommend for sure. And then VS Burn, I haven't seen his content as much, but I know he's got a good channel. And that's yeah, I can imagine that. Yeah, that would be pretty tough. The situation that happened. Last thing I'll answer, Dollywood closed their drop tower because it's by the same manufacturer. Yeah, they replaced the restraints on it, so that's what happened. That's like kind of the thing I would expect to see if for whatever reason the Icon Park drop tower were to reopen, but I think it's best that it doesn't. So yeah, but anyways, that's pretty much all I have here on the stream. Hope you all enjoyed watching, catching up on some news, and obviously hearing my experiences and my thoughts on the different rides at Kings Island, Holiday World, and of course, my experience with Wonder Woman Flight of Courage. So with all of that said, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time here on Coaster Hour. See ya.